Alright, hello everyone, it's mysticjuicer. This is round 2 losers bracket action in Summer Smash 4. mysticjuicer versus Phrawger. Phrawger, very fun player to play against. We've met a couple of times. He has definitely taken sets off me. We've tended to have very tense games, and this set was no exception. I say it in chat towards the end of the match, but this set took basically 3 years off my life, but was a ton of fun. Lots of really cool decisions happening, and lots of courageous combat reveals on both parts. So I'm opening Onimaru. Phrawger tends towards the grapplers. I don't know if he's got an Argarg. I don't know if he's got a Degray, but I'm happy to play against those characters and see how he does in those matches. Open block. I don't so much care if Phrawger goes for an early bone cracker. I don't have too much of extreme value in my hand. The king I can stand to discard and will probably discard later. The queen is fine. We can draw those and play those at any point. Even getting rid of the final authority, which is my only throw, is not too bad. It's very early in the game. Generally, I make a bit of a bigger decision point about whether I want to pump 5 attacks that are successful in the early game. But in this case, I don't mind too much. The aim of the game with Manelker is just to try to close things out as quickly as possible. Most of the time, if you follow up, you're going to be having just a fine time. Get a nice dodge off here as he tries to defend himself against both, 5s and 10s and aces. And we've already got him at exactly half health. We're doing just fine. We have more than, more than enough firepower in hand to be able to close this out if we get a few more good combats. Managed to hit his king there after going for the dodge, maybe expecting me to go for another guard crush attempt. Happy to punch out black face cards when we see them. And there we go. First block of the game, or first block combat win of the game for Phrawger. So I had to go back. Yeah, five block revealed in the first. Block in the first, and then got his 5 guard crushed by my 5. Going for just damage to close things out and get dodged. So we're very likely to get bone crackered here. That's going to take our ace. So we could have just I could have played the ace to, or played the joker to get 2 free cards. Probably should have done that, but thought, why bother? If I do that, then he does get to choose another card. I'd rather hold on to the final authority and the threat of the throw. So given that he has just gotten rid of jokers, given that he knows that I don't have guard crush normals, I'm expecting him to... Yeah, I just don't mind if he blocks there. That's basically... I just don't want to get exploded by, cross up something into... black king into black jack. So that is all 4 queens and both my jokers out of my discard. So I will not be getting any of those anymore. We have managed to find ourselves a 10. We could try to dodge into that, or we could just play it raw. I think with a 7-card hand, each of these is fine combat option. We've got 81 health. He's got to do a lot of work. He's probably going to have to do some jumping and dodging and throwing if we ever commit to starting to play a defensive range. In this case, it's actually really important for me to hold on to the 6 because it is one of the few things I can dodge into to kill. The power up for single black queen is, again, it's part of kind of the 50-50 Manelker mix-up of, you know, just play the queen, and if you're not blodging, then you're going to get killed. Or I get to throw you here. So he goes for the block, trying to build a hand instead. Got to start thinking about what he is in fact afraid of. Could probably stand to put a few more dodges into our range here. Or we can try to undercut a greedy blackjack and try to close things out with a 3. Okay, we get dodged instead. Again, this is probably not going to do all that much. No reason to face down because there's just nothing that I can do about that. All of my jokers are gone. Takes the only throw out of our hand, and this is actually a very important decision-making point for us to consider. So he knows we have relatively little in the wake-up options department. He knows we don't have an even, or he knows we don't have an odd block, so could have elected to go for an odd cross-up, although we do still have the jack, so that gives us our cross-up defense. Probably that 10 is what that was looking for. Managed to draw another 9, but given that he's playing pretty defensive and probably expects us not to have drawn into another throw by now, we can try to go for lethal here. And luckily we do. So bit of exploiting our opponent's knowledge of our hand there. There's something about Mary, as Redless would probably say, if he made, you know, really bad Mary puns. Okay, switches to Rook. Historically, not a great matchup for me. I've not had very, very good success in this matchup against grapplers, but especially against Rook. I tend to give Rook a lot more respect than I probably should in order to survive. So here is probably an indicator of not pumping this. Yeah. So I'm just going to hit him with the 5, take the 10, and get a few more cards in hand. Now that I've hit him with the 5, he may choose to defend himself against you know, high normals or further 5s. So I've got a decision about whether I want to go in with aces, or I want to just hit another 5, because that's probably going to be fairly unexpected. Do I want to try to fish for a high block? And that 4, ooh, that 4 says a lot. The 4 may have been a bait to try to go block and see how I react to the 4. In this case, unfortunately, it just walks into the kind of okie doke strat of just walk forward and do the same thing that worked last time. Managed to catch a king, so we're getting a lot of free damage here. Throw away one of the aces. Not sure how smart that was. Might have been better just to tag the queen. Might have been better just to tag the queen onto that. Because it's fairly likely we're going to have another opportunity to draw into some face cards. But I am not going to be powering up for any more aces. So getting 2 attached aces instead on our next ace combat win would be pretty nifty. So we're just, I mean, this is not really any knowledge of his range or anything like that. It just happens to be working out really, really nicely. That as soon as he finds a block that he's comfortable playing, he runs into a guard crush normal. Yeah, none of this is extremely calculated. The ace there, I think, is fairly high likelihood to succeed. I've guard crushed him a bunch. I've played a lot of normals. So the temptation is just to continue with a strategy that works, and Jack can light that up. Might have been fine to take that combat loss, to be quite honest. Wow, the queen throw. This is the start of just the just the stones on Phrawger, no pun intended. But queen throw, my god. that is worthy of the hashtag respect. My goodness. Yeah, like press M to or press N to pay respects or whatever that meme is. So try to go for the throw. We managed to get the throw, first of the specials that we find. Probably going to tag a king onto this. Oh yeah, okay. Could do queen king. Keep the jack and the queen of hearts so that we can tee one or the other off of them. And here I just have an opportunity to go for lethal with queen. He doesn't block this, he dies. So fortunately for me, he blocks this. I do have 2 jokers, so I'm not extremely worried about taking a ton of damage here. At any point that I'm scared, because Rook has no way to punish jokers, I can just put a joker out there, and that is going to be just fine. So 6 cards in hand. Not a ton of special blocks yet played. Could go for the jack. Raw jack is not all that tempting, to be honest. Wish I had played the other side of that 4 to at least get a really nice trade out of it. Instead, we go to 55 off of a king throw. He is perhaps feeling like I no longer have any good options in hand, and he is quite correct in that. So he's going to sit us down on the ground and mount this comeback, which is at a very important life total, of course. To all fans of Rook that will be familiar, we are in fact now in CMB range. I'm going to hold on to those jokers for a little while longer. It's fairly smart to play them here, yeah, because this is definitely a GameStop trade. You know, 1 damage is just not sufficient. No attached ace on that exchange, but I was hoping to shut down perhaps a 4 attack, some sort of rock armor attempt. We've still indicated that we have pretty much nothing at all in hand. He has shown that he is willing to throw from this position. We haven't really given him any reason not to. We've played very defensive. We're going to continue to do so, and we're going to get continually punished here. It's found an 8 block. We find another 9. Try to go for some silliness here. Catch that 8 block again, or catch a throw. Again, we are still incredibly defensive. The dodge should tip him off that I've finally got some damage in hand. He elects to try to let me hang myself by continually blocking. Luckily, we get some nice damage off of that, putting him at 2. We essentially only need a face card, and for him not to have a special block. So we are on track to be doing nice. Definitely in control of the matchup. We want to not lose to CMB. That is basically the aim of the game. The other thing we don't want to lose to is a bunch of 5 blocks. 5 blocks and 3 blocks. I'm playing a very attack-heavy range, and that is very well punished by 5s and 3s. And there, we had the game, but we elected to go for... Yeah, the maximum callouts is really brutal. Here with the knockdown, I just don't want to deal with making a decision here, so I'm going to try to wake up with the Joker. This does also give us an opportunity to force him to use some special blocks, as he has to be worried about the fact that we will use aces, raw, try to close things out. They do deal 2 chip damage if you play them martial law side up, which is equivalent essentially to the Clockwork Soldier's speed versus something like someone like Rook, especially at this life total. But of course, do want to you want to make sure that you're not giving up, combats. I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry. It's only the speed of Clockwork Soldiers versus Martial Law is only really relevant against 3 attacks, or after 3 blocks on the rook side. Jesus, can't speak today. He's powered up exactly once. What I'm going to do is treat that with the respect it deserves and try to stomp out a supremely silent CMB here. I don't know. As a rook player, you know that the best CMB is the most hidden CMB. So if you have 4 aces turn 1, you play it immediately. Luckily, our sixth sense was correct. We managed to win that one. That would have been really, really brutal a loss to take. We go up our second match. That was, yeah, I was really thinking like, okay, I don't want to lose to ace ace into ace ace, but I'm just going to take this one opportunity. I'm just going to cover against CMB for 1 turn, see what we can make happen. It was a really nice setup on his part too. It was immediately after Gold Burst. He knows I have 2 aces in hand. He knows I have chip out victory, but I'm at a low enough life total that I need to be thinking about whether I'm going to play the ace ace raw against like a face up 5 block. Or not. Okay, so he makes the switch to Argagarg. He apologizes slightly, or wants me not to judge him for that fact. I honestly, as a counter picker myself, albeit with a very narrow range of characters, counter picking is just the correct thing to do. Like if your opponent's not going to deal with it correctly, if you want to win and you want to advance. And, you know, there's a ton of fun characters in Yomi. Not a bad idea to counterpick. Gives you a nice appreciation for different characters and their playstyles. Might lead you to find a main you like. Definitely led me to picking up Onimaru. The reason I go for the ace attack there, so I opened up very, very aggressive. Like I'm basically disrespecting Argagarg's main game plan, which is, you know, play some pokes in the early game, and then you know, have ace block and just ace block forever. And this is exactly that turn is what I was hoping to punish in the first game, or in the first turn. Jesus. Okay, we get our ace attached block. So the way this matchup goes is, yeah, Argagarg has tremendous late game pressure. His ace block is completely immune to our innate, essentially. We almost don't have guard crush in this matchup. He's got a lot of nicely placed, you know, 2.0 speed normals and stuff like that. So he doesn't really, he's got a counter, so he doesn't really have to respect 5. He basically just barely has to respect Onimaru. The way to deal with that range, if it is being played face up, is to spend a lot of time blocking, get a ton of cards in hand, and then once you have a huge hand and you can actually maximize damage off of throws, then you start bullying Arg with 7 throw. You start bullying him with, you know, all these really fast speed throws. They deal a good amount of damage. They're not very card efficient, but they deal an okay amount of damage for throws. The fact that, you know, their speed doesn't really matter. You're just trying to catch blocks and dodges. But that itself can just be counteracted by the Argagarg player just playing more aggressively. You know, throwing more when Onimaru's hand is low and he wants to be blocking up to that high hand, and attacking a little bit when Onimaru has that high hand. Because the other thing that Onimaru wants to do at high hand is he wants to catch, you know, anti-throw attacks from Argagarg and either dodge into big damage, or play face cards just raw and say, hey, you know, if you're not going to respect the fact that I have final authority, then I'm just going to hit you with final authority. So I played the opening fairly aggressive, wanting to shift into a more conservative range, but Phrawger's been really, really good at punishing that. Go for the Wake Up 5, which gets us through a very greedy low block here, which is nice. But we are very, very, very behind on life totals. We have an okay hand size, and we have a Joker, which is at least going to allow us to extend a little bit the length of this game. I've got a lot of 7 throws, but not a lot of stuff that I want to pump them with. In this case, I think I'm actually more likely to throw with the 7 and pump with the Jack than I am with the Kings, because this late or this behind on life, trying to gather as many Kings as possible is actually really good. If you get all 4 Kings and manage to get some Jokers out of the way, or Argagarg does not draw any Jokers, then you got 35 damage off of 4 cards, which is not tremendously card efficient, but it is big enough burst damage that right now, if we land 3 more throws, then the Kings could actually lead to lethal. Okay, went for the King here, expecting him to play fairly honest, to play fairly greedy and go for a throw. So see if we can get some attached King action there. Now we're in a very tough game state. We're still in a position where essentially, we've got 1 of each face card. It's not particularly great. Do manage to snag this 10 though, which is nice. Now that the first King is gone, might as well throw the other one after it. It's not going to do all that much for us in any case. And yeah, he's playing very nicely. We are catching up somewhat. He's definitely not out of the woods. I'm hoping to Final Authority a greedy Blowfish Spikes here, but again, what I should be doing is calming down. I've tagged him with a couple of throws. I've shown him that I'm willing to get aggressive and mix it up. Should go back and retreat into my shell a little bit, because I haven't done that basically all this game. I've basically abandoned that game plan, and it's really not paying off. So again, caught in Argagarg's wet web of lies here. Finally gonna follow my own advice, go back and hold the down back button a little bit. That is a particularly painful combat interaction though, as I basically take 7 chip off of that King. Basically deals more chip than what's stated on the card itself. We are finally going to get around this. I'm going to toss another King into the fire because, we've already thrown through 2 of them away, and they're really not going to do us much good in the rest of this match. Drawn into Jack. The mix-up here is just continuous dodges from Argagarg, or he could go for, he can go for 2 to hit confirm into Blowfish Spikes. He does have those 2 aces, I'm pretty sure. Or he could, I think there's 1 known ace in hand. Okay, 2 known aces now. Managed to at least stay alive a little bit longer, but this is rapidly turning into an unwinnable situation for us. I think if he just held down back, he would absolutely win the rest of this game. And he has played, he's played aggressively enough that I thought I might be able to catch a throw or another block there. So he punishes the obvious counter to the obvious play on his part and closes out that game. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to Gloria, my default Argagarg counter pick. And we can talk a little bit about that match. So the reason that Gloria does fairly well, just to rehash very quickly, because of her ability to heal every turn, or most turns, she can essentially ignore the inevitability portion of Arg's innate and just contend with him like he's a neutral character that happens to have aces that outspeed everything that Gloria has. So getting that Ace of Hearts online is going to be very important. Managing our Hearts content is going to be very important. Yeah, and kudos to Phrawger. This is how you have to approach bad matchups. You have to be ready to die. You have to be ready to go to the 50-50 place. You have to be ready to take it to a coin flip and then lose. Because taking it to a coin flip means that you actually came ahead in the match, right? If it was a disadvantaged match, you actually took it to 50-50, so you're doing pretty good. That's the way to think about it. I'm going to hold on to one of these 2s rather than power up for aces, because I don't want to block with the 10. I may play the 10 here, which is really foolish if I'm not paying attention to my hand. Yeah, this is really dumb. I don't have any hearts in the discard at the moment, so I would have been committing really hard to playing winning combat and playing the ace of hearts there. So that's not great on my part. I'm definitely need to be paying way more attention if I'm going to be winning this match. So turn 2 Blowfish Spikes is a pretty good combat reveal, I think. Definitely gives him a bit of a life lead to work with. Of course, the way that Overdose works, every time I win combat and play Overdose, we're both going to take damage, 10 damage. So maintaining a life lead is actually really important to Argarg and to any character that plays against Gloria. It's very, very key. Decision making here is, do I want to just take the knockdown, or do I want to tag on a 5 and a 6, or more likely the Jack and the 6 for some additional damage. Choosing instead to go up in hand, just so I have more fodder to be able to discard and heal. So again, we're starting our comeback here. This is the way it begins. We've got our Argarg at 4 hit points. I am expecting here for him to go for just kind of anti-cross-up defense of any kind, and instead get tossed on my ass, which with a bold ass wake-up 9 throw. That is pretty sick on Phrawger's part. Really good read. Definitely knows my character. Want to play it safe, and punishing that, definitely very effective. Now that we're on the ground, I don't want to take a mix-up opportunity. So I'm hoping he goes for a cross-up attempt and I get a chance to play a joker, or just to ignore it generally. He is on a 4-card hand. But this is really, really punishing me. Just these, that first Blowfish Spikes and then a couple of throws, and my inability to heal is severely curtailing my ability to come back in this matchup. So that's a very unfortunate, very unfortunate combat interaction there. It is my only kind of dominant attack that I have in hand, the Jack. So I've now got to start deciding. I'm going to start bleeding out, and I'm drawing a lot of hearts, which is really not helping. But I've got to start making decisions like, I'm playing Gloria with bad options in hand. Typically, what you want to do as Gloria against Argarg is threaten the fact that you've got like a billion 2.2 speed attacks. You've got queens at 1.0, so you really dominate the neutral. But with that Jack gone, that is all for naught, and we're gonna have to start making some big plays here. What I should be doing, probably still a little bit thrown off from that last Onimaru Arg game, as much as I'm loath to admit it. But I'm not making the smartest decisions here. Having the 8s as throws is really nice. He's still at a 6 or 7 card hand on this next draw, so he doesn't have a tremendous amount of options. So having an 8 throw, which is it's only going to be cleanly beaten by Argarg's 8 throws, would be really nice to have in hand. Now I've got to depend on a 9 throw, which is my only throw right now. Unless I pick up an 8, and I do not. So I pick up the Ace of Hearts. I am trying to go for some sort of big... I'm at least trying to threaten Twilight Key and go for something big. I am rewarded for my hubris with a 7 throw. But I could eat Blowfish Spikes here. So that is the main consideration I'm making. He's picked up a single ace. He could have double ace. Playing Blowfish Spikes here is fairly reasonable. Instead, he plays queen. Doesn't quite close things out. I am going to get an opportunity to heal if I want to discard aces, or I can allow myself to go down to 1 damage, hope that I draw into a dodge, or I'm committed to basically playing the Gold Burst and hoping that he doesn't have anything. On this next turn, I will have to heal. So the way it works is that you get the opportunity to heal first, then Argagarg's Hex activates. Something that came up in another match that I played that I almost threw. I think it was in a fast timer tournament of some kind. So definitely don't want to repeat that. And again, I've got that same decision making I need to make. Can I press him or can I not? He just goes for the chip out, expecting that I do not have a way to deal with this in a comfortable way. Maybe did not draw a dodge. He has got a reasonable guess that 4 out of the 6 or 7 cards in my hand were aces and thus basically dead cards. So nicely played by him. He takes the game. We're going to immediately rematch. We'll see if we're going to do a bit better in this next match. So luckily for us, our bad hand in the last game kind of, helps us do some free conditioning, right? He thinks we're an awkward Gloria that maybe doesn't know exactly what she's doing. But it turns out it's just because we made really bad decisions and drew bad cards. If it was just that we made really bad decisions, Gloria probably still wins the matchup. We also drew bad cards, so that's not great either. So no pairs in the opening hand, so I can't activate the Ace of Hearts. Can't get that online. Do not yet have any aces to play with. It's going to be the important consideration for me in the early game here. Luckily for us, we do find the King of Hearts very, very, very soon in our opening hand. We draw another king, so that's pretty good for us as well. Got to start considering if I want to be blocking to get some more cards, if I want to be playing kings to defend myself. But I expect that he is probably, going to turtle up inside of his little merfolk shell, and instead he proves me wrong again with those bold-ass throws that are rapidly amping up the pressure here. This is, again, a really hard commit to the fact that I'm going to be able to be standing and be able to heal on this next turn. So perhaps a bit of an aggressive committing of resources. Luckily, it works out for us. He went for the cheeky cross-up, expecting us to go for another block of some kind. We put him on the ground. We don't get to overdose. We still don't have our ace. But we can... Oh, I actually don't know why. Oh yeah, the 10, I guess the 10 was countered. Okay, we do draw the ace. Sorry. Turns out it's really hard to follow this match, even after the fact. So my Gloria definitely needs work. Okay, he has been really getting me with these wake-up throws, so I elect to go for a punish. Am finally going to be able to tag some damage onto there, throw the 5 on there because it is a 5 of hearts, so it doesn't really do all that much for us in our hand anyway. Going to get the overdose to refill our hand a little bit, and then get the heal off of the jack if he permits it. If he's got a 10, he can actually counter this. The jack will go to our discard. Probably, honestly, well, I don't know. I don't know if it's better to counter the jacks or counter the 10s. I don't know if you can actually control Gloria's hand like you can against other characters by denying her further draw. I think it's probably better to use the 10s on the jacks just to deny her additional healing and to deny her further 2.2 speed attacks. So this is a trade. It's not that great for us. We do end up taking 9 damage, but we do get an opportunity to heal as the jack comes back if it hits. Doesn't matter if it... there we go. There we see the counter. Now, unfortunately for him, it does give us an immediate other jack, which is pretty nice. I've got the option of getting the king, the 9, or the 5 back. None of those are particularly important, as I did draw into the jack. So we have our 2.2 speed attack we can use to defend ourselves. Undercut this 2 real quick. This is very likely just to be into overdose. Really not a tremendous amount to be gained by following this up with a 3 and a 4. I would much rather hold on to that with healing. And we get a free discard as well, which is nice. Okay, got the overdose. We are even in health totals. We are ahead on cards, so everything is looking up for us. We've got a jack in hand that we can continue to be oppressive with. Just everything is looking very, very nice. Definitely have Phrawger in a pickle here, as with heals and continuous jack usage, that slight hit point lead is going to rapidly bloom out of control. Go for a block here. Yeah, just seeing if he, we've played fairly attack heavy. Basically just been pushing a lot of buttons in neutral, which we like to do, but always nice not to run into an ace, even though it does not tremendously matter in this matchup in the same way that it does in others. Okay, so having blocked against the ace, he goes for the 7 to try to option select either block or 7 throw, because that will clash or beat both sides, either side of that mix-up. Instead, he takes a 26 damage DP, or 23 damage DP, sorry. We get the healing touch, and we are nearly in an unlosable situation here. We have double Joker for checkmate in the last turn of the game. So long as I do not take 21 damage here, I'm going to survive. And the gold burst basically means that he's lost this game. What I'm going to be able to do here is overdose, put him to 6, and then I can heal for the ace with the jack and the queen that I've got in my hand. And then next turn, it's going to be raw reveal gold burst into blue burst. So completely undamageable combat. And that is going to be it for game 5. So managed to take the lead here. If he is careful, yeah. So in that situation, if a Gloria plays a 10 in that situation, after implying that she's going to go for checkmate, the best thing to do is actually not to counter it. If the Gloria player doesn't have the second Joker and you counter that 10 and they draw into the other Joker, then right, you're gonna feel pretty bad about that. Definitely not the case here, but yeah, just some small optimization to think about in your play. Not that I think it's going to matter almost any amount of the time, but it's a neat thing to think about. It's the same thing as like Valerie going for bold strokes a bunch on a losing combat so that she can try to draw into a Joker or imply that she is drawn into the Joker. So, small stuff, but good to keep an eye on it. Yeah, from her, it's really hard to tell, but Gloria does actually have a ponytail. In her ace art in particular, I think it does not show up. So we've got a fairly good opening hand here. The only difficulty is I really want to protect myself, or I really want to protect myself from throw and also normal attack and try to get a draw. Oh, okay, never mind. I really thought that I was going to poke with the 3. Instead, we'll go ahead and power up for Ace of Hearts. And there's going to be a pretty brutal misplay in this next little section, which is unfortunate for me. But we get the Healing Sphere up. And we have a fairly simple mix-up here. We either throw his block because he knows we have a king and doesn't have anything that he wants to contest that with, or we just play the king, put him on the ground, and get our neutral shenanigans going. Now, yeah, this is the game I was thinking of when I attached the 10 with really no decision-making at all. And I just realize it now, like, oh, yeah, I don't actually have any hearts in the discard to get back, so this Healing Sphere is completely useless. I basically just threw away a 10. Really, really dumb play on my part. So not great, especially in a disadvantaged in a disadvantaged matchup where you can't afford to be making mistakes like that. You need to get every possible advantage you can. Okay, we poke out the 4 here. And this is where I think I've got Overdose, but I do not. And instead of going for Undo, just elect to combo into Twilight Key. Not great decision making on my part. I'm 4 cards in hand against the Grappler. 4 cards in hand against the Grappler that I am most disadvantaged against. But hey, we've got an attack and a block in hand, which means that we can totally play against grapplers. Drawing the queen there is actually kind of nice. And him going into dragon form actually simplifies my decision making a lot. Because he now has to think about whether he wants to block at any point. And I just have to think about what he's going to do. Is he going to queen me? Is he going to... I should have actually revealed before attack. That's probably a much smarter play. It gets me additional draw, which is very important at this point. So that would be 3 cards gained. I mean, not really gained, but I would be in a far better place. I'd have 6 cards on my next turn if I don't power up here. Or heal here, which I will. The point is I would be ahead an extra card. That's what I'm trying to get across. And that's what I should have done. So just be bold. Put that normal out there. It's really... I guess the queen hedges against him playing a jack. Because the queen beats the jack, whereas the 4 attack does not. But with that many cards in hand, it's far more likely he's going to reveal queen or king than jack. Because it's just more they're just more card efficient as combat reveals go. So now he's played a king and a queen, so it's impossible for me to tell what he's going to play next. I expect him to go back to kings. Instead, he uses this opportunity to get a joker. Midori gold bursting in dragon form is actually really effective, I think, generally. Your opponent is already in a place where they need to be playing kind of high risk, low reward. They can try to throw you for, to get you out of dragon form, and they need to make that call at some point, right? They can't just let you be in dragon form forever. They need to be putting out attacks to deal with, raw final dragon buster and king throw. So, those are really good situations. They're going to be occasionally blocking if they think that you're going to be pressing queen or jack, but it's very awkward to be blocking against Midori. Taking 17 damage and going card neutral on a turn, basically, skipping your turn and taking 17 damage is not a nice proposition that anybody really wants to take. I think somehow I think most people are more happy to get hit by queen because at least Midori goes down on cards that way. Okay, we managed to stand up. We managed to block out a dodge. It was pretty nice for us. Have a look at our discard, and there's really nothing I profit from picking up. So I'm going to hold on. I should really hold on to the 10 as well, but hey, why not? If I get a combat win here off of anything, and I get to put the ace down, I may actually escape my low hand size. He has been dodging fairly continuously, pretty boldly in fact. So I take a chance on throwing and manage to successfully stuff the dragon out of him. So this is going to give us knockdown. It's going to give us our opportunity to overdose. We are finally neutral in terms, tied in terms of life. We're going to go up a bit in cards. We're going to get a bit more card variety in our hands. So just generally that turn really worked out nicely for us. Definitely want to pick up the ace again. I'm going to toss out the 7 because I am fixing to go for either a cross-up attempt or just to beat out something with a king or a queen. More than likely going to be the queen here because I don't want to get blown up by Wake Up Jack. And this also nicely covers against human ace-ace. So that's fine with me. Unfortunately, he just does the lame thing and blocks smartly like a smarty smarterson. And there goes some momentum. Yeah, I don't know if overdosing here is all that bright. I suppose 27 is essentially the same as anything else. I have the king to defend against Dragon Jack. So maybe the idea that I had was try to go low hand, go relatively low hand, try to bait him into playing Dragon Jack, stuff the Dragon Jack, and then try to steamroll to victory essentially. Can be tough to do, but it could be feasible. Could be feasible. So he's gone in a dragon form, hoping to stuff a final Dragon Buster here. And in any case, if this doesn't work, I still keep the kings. He did gold burst all those many times ago. Now, okay, trying to cover as many options here. We're not gonna play proud. Instead, we get undercut by Dragon Queen. Can be very rough to block there. If we do get thrown, we disattach our sphere, but at this point, having the sphere might just be a liability overall. Thinking about the overdose, the difficulty here is I didn't win combat. I'm going to be on 4 cards, and if he has any dragon attacks, my hand is checkmated. So that's not great. We call that a bad situation where I'm from. Which is the land of the sane, the occasionally sane. Instead, we get a free draw off of that. We draw into another king, which is nice. We draw into a joker, which is even nicer. So this is almost guarantees that we're going to play the king here. Now, yeah, the thing I've got to worry about is if he's got another queen, I'm basically dead. I'm saying that I'm dead. I'll walk into another joker, so now he is guaranteed to have all 4 aces. Okay, and only gets a single ace, so he had 3 of them. I'm not exactly sure what the Joker was actually supposed to cover against. What I should be thinking is, okay, so he gold bursted to get a single ace. There's really no reason for him to gold burst there. Unless he does not have a dominant speed attack and was really worried about a queen follow-up. So if he's worried about single, 1.0 speed attacks, then what I really need to be worried about here, so the mix-up here is human ace-ace or dragon ace-ace. Both of them on a successful combat win are gonna be victories for him. Yeah, I'm just making it clear. I'm calling human ace-ace here, and of course I get hit with it. Yeah, so I call it the Leonte's curse because if you've ever watched Leonte's stream, his Midori, you know that he will often have these moments where he's like, he'll talk out the entire scene, right? He'll set the stage, he'll talk out, what the options are that he's worried about from his opponent, the different options that he has, the different incentives, and then he'll go, okay, so I want to play this. It only loses to whatever, or it's like if he plays really safe, I can punish him really hard for this, therefore he's going to play more aggressive, and I'm going to do this other thing. But of course he's just going to do whatever. And then of course his opponent does that and usually ends up winning combat. So shout outs to Leontes. An unfortunate bit of mythos there. But that was really, really brutal. So honestly, I think that was not as bad as it... that wasn't a bad loss to take. I felt fairly comfortable. I mean, I felt like I navigated it pretty well considering some pretty bad misplays and hand mismanagement on my part in the early game. Still made it fairly close, came fairly close to getting out of the situation and taking the win. So I know that he's on Midori. We've got the ace match, and I'm thinking about what character I want to play. I was thinking about Troc. I think Troc Midori is fairly even. It's probably maybe a little bit advantaged for Midori, I feel, but it's very, very close. Onimaru Midori is considered much less good for for Midori, so I elected to go for that instead. So opening with a 3 because I'm expecting him to defend himself against guard crushes, and then immediately switching to the queen to deal with, you know, anti-5 attack technology. So we're doing pretty good. We've dealt some early damage here. We go for a guard crush, see what happens. Nope, get poked out with another 4. And we didn't really have a way of beating that unless we wanted to block with the 7. That's unfortunate. So he builds a little bit of a hand. That's the main thing we're worried about in this matchup. Play out the 5, see if we can catch another normal attack. No, he switches to blocking. So again, playing an unsafe option and then immediately covering the counter to it. Draw another 10, so we might as well play that, see what happens. Manage to walk ourselves into a king, which is very nice. The king is a very smart play there. So given my combat reveals, so I went for what happened exactly? Went for the 5 attack. He went for the 8 block. The next, you know, likely thing is okay. He's got high blocks. I better throw those out of his hand. See if I can get rid of them. So he went for the counter throw to try to deal with that. Goes for queen. Perhaps expecting me to go to ace because I'm covering against I'm covering against normal, like poke normals on his part. Instead went for a poke normal of my own and got caught with the queen. Oh, this is very awkward. This is a very awkward situation. Giving Midori aces this early basically means that I have to commit my jokers to dragon form defense. If he gets an opportunity to get into dragon form, he's got a huge comeback mechanic, right? He's got this opportunity to go, to very strongly threaten dodge into Final Dragon Buster. Onimaru has a really rough time dealing with high burst characters with high burst off of dodge, and Midori is definitely one of those. So we want to try to hold on to that Joker for as long as possible. Only in an emergency are we going to play it, other than in dragon form. So yeah, this is pretty much played out like a fairly typical Onimaru versus Midori opening. I didn't get a tremendous advantage in the early game. Little bit of a life lead, nearly a little bit less than 20 hit points of a life lead, so very, very even. He's got a nice hand size. He's likely got the blocks he needs. He still, of course, because he's only got blocks up to 8, needs to worry about 8 attacks, 10 attacks, fairly long into the game. There we go. Get ourselves a nice extension of our lead here. So I'm feeling pretty good. I've drawn into my second Joker, so we should be absolutely fine to navigate through the final Dragon Buster mix-up. He has played both of his Jokers, so any dodges, any successful dodges that I get, and I'm sure they're not going to be all that many, should do fairly well against him. I'm considering it here because he does have ace-ace on deck. From way back when, and using it as a neutral tool is not a terrible idea. Probably better to hang on to it to, again, try to do the final Dragon Buster thing, but it's no guarantee that Midori's going to draw the 2s when he needs it. It's no guarantees that he actually has all 4 aces yet. So there's a lot of things counting against that as a very reliable game plan. And again, one of the ways you get to that, make that game plan reliable, is you block a whole bunch. But unfortunately, you know, Onimaru makes that pretty difficult. So he's having to find his stuff where he can. I'm very, very sad to see the 5-6-7. That is exactly the opposite kind of combat reveal that I wanted to see there. I was hoping that he would combo into Ace-Ace, and that would reduce the need for me to have the other Joker in hand. I could play a little bit, maybe a little bit looser with it. But instead, I do get punished with some excellent foozies. Just having a look at seeing what kind of cards he's got in hand. He's already played a bunch of 4s. He's played a bunch of dragon attacks, so I'm not really worried about that. So of course I get hit with the Dragon Jack. And then what I'm immediately going to do is I'm going to play this Joker. Because I'm at 61 hit points. Jack into Ace-Ace is 29. And it is, since I have just blue bursted, it's incredibly unlikely that I would have the other Joker. So you're almost guaranteed to get the blue burst there. But yeah, you could, if I could show you player cam right now, I am not looking happy because right now I know I am at the mercy of game plan F, which is just go for Final Dragon Buster. And these neutral jacks are not helping things at all. He's rapidly approaching and equalizing the life lead, 40, essentially 40 all. I need to try to, like, I've got a tremendous amount of damage stored up, but it's very difficult for Onimaru to dodge into stuff in this matchup because, again, Midori has the ability to ignore dodges with his dragon attacks. And it's also difficult to land them raw because Midori can play very cagey. So you're playing typically Onimaru, his matchups. You kind of leave the guard crush stage in the early game. So once the early game is out of the way, you know, guard crushes are less useful. You're mostly depending on final authority and throws. And yeah, throws me on the knockdown. That is absolutely gross. And for what makes it particularly gross is I had this opportunity to just do the obvious thing, just wake up with jacks and absolutely crush face into a brutal position. And just missed that opportunity. So I'm going to try to chase this opportunity now, but it's very likely, if I was thinking more carefully, I think it would be, I would talk myself out of it. And the reason being is that Phrawger has shown me that the rhythm of his play in this matchup has typically been do a thing and then immediately cover against the thing that's going to beat that, right? So he's playing to counter chasing. And I am playing right into it. So the defense against, defense against chasing is to just do the damn thing, you know, twice in a row. The decision making here is really, okay, I have 2 final authorities. I have exactly 2 face cards. He has very few face cards. He's played 2 queens and all 4 of his jacks. So what I'm going to go for here is looping knockdown setups. The thing I'm most worried about right now is him having any more dodges. That is the thing I'm most scared of. I want to try to lock that out of his range as quickly as possible. What I'm considering here is going for a double ace power up. The reason I end up deciding not to, so the reason for going to double ace power up is it strongly implies I don't have another final authority, or I don't have another face card to use it on. And we're back in this same mix-up. So, yeah, so oh god, it's moving too fast. So what I'm hoping to do is try to lock him down for as long as possible until I can get something lethal going. And this is going to give me another opportunity to threaten my mix-up. So I don't get him out of dragon form. But I do have a decision point to make here. He's immediately powering up dodges. He can't use them grounded anymore. He's getting a single ace. He's in dragon form, and I'm in the tooth of it, right? I have to make a decision. If I had drawn a queen, I would have mashed it. Because the thing I most want to option select is human ace-ace or dragon ace-ace. The other thing I'm considering is dodging here, because dodging is actually fairly smart, I feel like, oddly enough, just because human AA, like, I've got him on the ground. I've played 2 Final Authorities in a row. It's not inconceivable I might be out. I don't actually end up checking my discard, so I don't know how many face cards I've ended up spending, but it is a fair amount. So I could not have it, in which case he should wake up AA. But if I dodge his AA and I kill him, and I've killed Midori by dodging, which is never a comfortable position. Thank goodness he goes for the absolutely super gutsy wake up ace throw, which, and then, like, really, I was a hair away from dodging because I really thought he was going to wake up with the human side of attacks. That was absolutely brutal. Hell of a set. I really enjoyed the games in this. Looking back, there was definitely sloppy play, especially in that first Gloria game against his Argagarg. Just my Gloria play in general, I think, just needs some work. So I'm going to go ahead and take that back to the lab. Until next time, first of all, great games again, Phrawger. That was a ton of fun. I definitely lost three years of my life playing it, but man, yeah, that was some really good Yomi. It was a lot of fun decision making, a lot of really gutsy wake up throws on his part. I think he successfully threw dodges from me more than almost any other player that I've played against. Made me feel really uncomfortable, so kudos to you. Until next time, I will stay alive in the losers bracket and bring you more matches as soon as I can. Until then, enjoy yourself, Yomi. Cheers.